senior safety Jordan Italiano. Coach will start us off with an opening statement.
Again, very tough football game, against Marshall. Again, proud of the team, the way they played, the way they fought. We talk all the time about 4 or 5 plays, the difference of the game, and you never know when those plays are going to happen, and that's kind of how it happened in this game. The kickoff return was huge for them to get them back into the game, and then they made a couple plays in the overtime and got the win. But again, proud of our guys the way they played, and kind of talked about it this morning, and then get on to the mat. And it's really what all the goals that we want to accomplish and the things that we want to do all in front of us, and really starts, today with us with our preparation with Miami. It's going to be tough. Miami's a tough opponent. They've had a very tough non-league schedule in these first 4 weeks. Very high-powered, teams that they played against. They're still young. Coach Martin is still doing a really good job of their progression, but you see them on film and they're getting, better every week. It's going to be tough for us to run the football on them because they do load the box up, and they've got some size on the edge, on their perimeter defensively. So our guys are going to have to do a good job of winning out there. And they've used 3 quarterbacks on offense, and all of them are kind of a little bit the same but different. And they got some length outside on the wide receivers that could cause problems for us. They got 6'6", 6'3", type guys. So it's going to be a big challenge for our guys, but our guys will be prepared. Homecoming, big week for us. At home again, MAC opener, so it'll be exciting.
Coach, last week you talked a lot about slowing down Marshall's offense.
Mm-hmm.
You won the possession time battles. Would you agree with the sentiment that you've succeeded in slowing that offense down?
Yeah, I think again, it looked like we went from 7 to 36 real fast, and we did a good job with pretty much the whole time. When you get into overtime and you start on the 25, then it kind of helped them a little bit because I didn't think that they could drive, the field on us. But we did talk about controlling the clock. We did that. Coach Treadwell did a good job of not getting away from running the football. And we got first downs, running the football. So we accomplished that. Had a chance to win. We just didn't, like I said, they made a couple plays in overtime.
You had the 4th and goal, and they had the 4th and goal at the 3. Stop them, you win. Can you just kind of I remember the quarterback got flushed, and you guys had a lot of success when you flushed him during that game.
Yeah.
That was kind of really the only one time when he made a play.
Well, really 2. They were really on 2 of their touchdowns. The other one going the other way where he hit the guy right going out of bounds. That was another time where we lost contain, and those were 2 big things. We had a lot of line movement going up, inside also too with our run. But we talk about it all the time, rush lanes. We got to stay in our rush lanes, got to keep contained. And the crazy thing is those guys know it right afterwards. So just something that, again, one of those things that you can learn from, one of those things that you can talk about, but you never want to put it on one play, to sit there and decide the game because that wasn't the only one, but those 2 were big for us because that's kind of how they got out of the quarterback because he was mobile enough but wasn't very mobile, and if we just would have pulled him up, we could have caught him from the backside. That's how Terrence got a lot of his sacks.
Jordan, it really seemed like you guys on defense you only gave up the 1 offensive touchdown before Holly and Murray both went out with those targeting calls. Did the loss of those 2 guys on defense, how much of an effect did it have on the rest of you guys?
I really don't think it had that big of an effect. Obviously, those are 2 players who, when you lose, I mean, you really don't want to lose anybody. But coming in, we always say, the next man up. And I believe everyone in the defense was confident in the guys stepping up on the field, and we knew that they knew what they were going to do, and we knew that they were going to get the job done.
Remember at one point you had Eldon basically on an island over under receiver.
Yeah.
Things kind of, when that happens, things kind of fall out, quick fall out there, and you have to just kind of next man up, like you say.
Yeah, and those guys, we talk about preparation. I know you guys hear our guys say preparation like it's a broken record, but it really is that. And, we talk about, meeting together, doing things together. So, maybe Eldon and Quan aren't the ones that's talking, but they're hearing these guys that's been around talking. So when they get out there, it's never the same. I mean, that's why we have ones, two. That's why we have a depth chart. But you just want those guys to be out there. And for us to show that we have confidence in them, those guys that are out on the field show that they have confidence in them and just do their job. Just do their job. We never will point the finger, at a guy or something, because that's hard. I mean, you say that you're out there prepared, but you're not the starter. So it's different to get thrown in and go out there and perform, and those guys did. I mean, you look at Marcus Elliott with an interception. Cuthbert had a ton of tackles, for us, and Quan played well, for us down there in critical times, So we talk about next man up. We talk about preparation, and those guys, like Jordan said, I don't think they did a bad job. They went in there and just blew it. I mean, those guys went in there and did a good job and had some production for us.
Coach, how's Demetrius Monday? I know that at one point in the game he left with an injury.
He's good. He just wanted some TV time.
Do you have any update on Nick Holly's status for this week?
Nick's not playing.
Is that, not playing this week, is there any timetable on the injury?
Not right now.
Past that?
Yeah, not right now. They're in the timetable on it. So it's kind of day by day or week by week, really. But, he probably will be out for the next couple of weeks, for us, for sure. And then we'll kind of see after that.
Is there like an official diagnosis or anything?
You know what? It's something with his back, his hip and his back, but I don't know the medical term for it. But it's his hip and his back.
Coach, in regards to Miami, they've been kind of a tough team to figure out early. They got blown out by Wisconsin and Western Kentucky, yet they also took a pretty good Cincinnati team to the brink. Why, in your mind, have they been kind of inconsistent to start, and what do you expect to see from them? What type of team do you expect to see on Saturday?
Well, I think they're a good football team. You talk about those teams. Wisconsin's pretty good, especially in Madison. I've been there, done that, and that's not an easy task, at all. And Western Kentucky is playing, lights out football right now too. This is early for them. It's early for Coach Martin. He's the same boat, we were in a year ago or 2 years ago when he's still trying to build, a program. Has a lot of youth, got a lot of young guys playing for him, So that's where, when you listen to him, that's where a lot of their mistakes, are coming from youth. But you watch them on film, and there's a lot of things that they're doing, well, and they're doing better. And their young guys are starting to step up, like our young guys are starting to step up. And that's really kind of what I'm sure he's kind of, saying the same things week in and week out. They're getting better. There's a lot of things on tape that you can look at that they did better in week 4 that they did week 1. So like I said, it was a challenge for us last year, there with a 10-7 game, and it's going to be another challenge for us, also too this year.
Coach, you mentioned last year's game, big defensive battle. At first glance, it looks like you guys are really returning more of the defensive players. Do you feel that gives you a slight leg up going into next week?
If we play well, only if you execute and you play well do you have that type of benefit, and that type of edge, I guess. So this is a day that we'll come up with our plan, come up with the best plan that we can possibly get it to these guys early, because the earlier we get it to them, the more they can dissect it and look over it. And, I know it's going to be simple and it's going to be sound. I mean, that's what the last couple of weeks we've done defensively has made it simple and sound and let these guys just go play.
Back to the last game, you didn't have a lot to say about the targeting calls after the game. A couple days later, you got a chance to look them over. Do you have anything else to say about them?
Nope.
By rule, they missed the next half. Is that
First
right?
half of this game.
The following game.
Mm-hmm.
Is it
Yeah.
like it's 4 quarters that they miss? Is that
Yeah,
right?
I think that's how, I don't know exactly how it's, but if it happens in the first half, it's the rest of the game. If it happens in the second half, then it's the first half of the next game.
Okay.
I think that's how that works.
Then the MAC would have an option of further punishment. Is that correct?
That I don't know. I haven't heard any of that.
Anything from
No,
them?
nope.
Jordan, does seeing those calls and some of the other things that have gone on with targeting, does that change any the way you play the game?
No, not really. I mean, you just have to be smart. I mean, know where, like, the strike zone is, I guess, when you're hitting a receiver or anything like that. But as far as changing your style of play, no, I don't think it does.
Do you feel that the officials are sometimes inconsistent with the way they call these things?
That's not for him to answer. He's a student.
The way this season's kind of broken up with you start out with the 4 non-league games, and now you're in the league. It's kind of like almost like a 2-season type thing.
Yeah.
Could you kind of evaluate your 3 phases, up to this point, starting with their offense?
Again, record-wise, of course, you're not where you want to be, but I still think we're a good football team. And from week one, I think we all had concerns, offensively, but you knew it was a process that you had to get better and had to do things to get better. We're running the football better. We're throwing the ball down the field a little bit better. That's opening up, I think, the run game that people can't sit there and load the box. We're blocking on the perimeter better. Those are all things that, week one and even week two that we talked about we had to get, better at. And then defensively, we're executing better. And that's really what it's coming down to is we're executing better from week. I mean, we had, I can't even remember, we had so many missed assignments in week one that gave up big plays. It was unbelievable, So I think the guys are just, I guess is getting comfortable in their skin and in the scheme and the execution of what we want them to do and understanding a little bit more. Where we have to continue to get better in the third phase is our special units, and it's our cover units. So we attacked them this morning as much as we watch film on offense and defense, because it's those guys also too. We got to make sure that we're doing on special units, also too, because that's the easiest way to lose a football game. And we had one up, with their takeaway. On the special units, and a lot of times you look statistically, you block a punt, you win the game. You run one back for a touchdown, you win the game. So those are things that are huge plays in the outcome of the game that we got to make sure that we're preparing just as much on offense and defense as we do on special units.
Start with offense. Is there any player or players that have really emerged over the first week?
It's kind of been a different guys, each week, which is a good thing. I think, again, as a unit, the offensive line did a really good job this last game of helping us run the ball along with, and you've heard me week in and week out, just because we run the ball is not just the offensive lineman. You look at Chris White and Johnny Woods on the edge, and those are things that no one will ever see. But they did a really good job of blocking on the perimeter, for us this last game. So, and again, what Trayon is doing in his role, Miles Washington coming in, spelling for him, and Raquan James is moving around, a bunch for us, is playing running back, playing slot, doing a lot of different things. So it's kind of, week in and week out has been kind of different guys, which is a good thing. There's been a lot of guys. And the same thing, defensively. But, offensively it's been, a bunch of guys that we were able to play, and they're doing a good job and getting better.
Coach, you mentioned Trayon. How nice was it to see him after missing all that time last year? His role isn't quite what he used to be. How nice was it to see him get over 100 yards last week?
You know, it's been good. And like I said, you know, and Trayon's always a point of question for people with just his career that he's had here. And there were so many questions coming back from last year. Was he going to play again? How effective? What he was going to be? What his attitude was? The whole thing. And like I really said, I mean, he's been awesome. He's been great, and he's running hard. He's believing. He's all in, and I can't tell you what he's doing for us in special units. You know, also too, and a lot of times when you're a back like him, those are the plays that you want to take off, or those are the plays that you're tapping to come out. But he's on almost every one of our. I think we punted 12 times. And he's out there. We're actually taking him out instead of him wanting to get out.
How much of an effect does that have on the other players around him, seeing a more experienced guy like that step up and be a leader and come out on those plays where you wouldn't always expect him to you mentioned a lot of times you would expect him to take off, but how much of an effect does that have on the rest of the guys?
I think it's huge, and I think every team you're only as good as your senior, you know, your senior class. And this senior class has a lot of great leadership in it. And leadership not in just talking, but leadership in action. And that's a young room still. That running back room is a young room. And when you see the guy who's been through it, who's banged up, who's come back from adversity, out there working hard, it only, you know, helps you to where you don't have to pound it as much as a coach.
Last week you talked in regard to Trayon about it was really a matter of accepting the role, but you know, Saturday it really seems like he was your feature back. Was that kind of the game plan going in, or was it just a matter of feeding the hot running back?
Yeah, I think him and Miles, you know, Miles Washington were the two that we were going, you know, use. I don't think you can have just one in this day and age, you know, of football with all the, you know, guys are getting bigger, stronger, faster. You know, but, you know, when it's crunch time, I mean, he was the guy that we went to. Miles got banged up a little bit there at the end, so we had to go away from him a little bit. But, you know, those two guys are big, strong, powerful running backs that can run downhill real well. And, you know, as long as the game goes on, the more the game goes on, that's hard to tackle, you know, those big guys that's running angry.
Defensively, player-wise, emergence. I mean, Wall comes to mind, obviously, right away.
Yeah, Terrence had a good game, you know, but again, it's just, you know, the guys around him. And like I said, I think a lot of guys are executing, you know, well. Terhune is one of those unsung, you know, guys that are playing 69, 70 snaps that's putting a lot of pressure, you know, on the inside guys, and we move him also outside. Chris Fairchild had a really good game for us too, him and John. And those are the guys who don't get a lot of credit because they're in the trenches. But I think our defense is playing well because of the execution in our front. I think our front is playing very, very well together. We're rotating 7 or 8 guys in that mix, so there's a lot of guys who are staying fresher, which I think is helping us. You know, and we're playing a lot of guys all over the place besides corner. Is the only spot that we're not playing a whole lot of guys, where Monday and Najee are getting most of the reps. But, you know, Nick Cuthbert has played a bunch for us in our dime package. Eric Simpson has done a really good job for us at the Apache. You know, we get Darius Redmond back. He had a little ankle, you know, injury, so we'll get him back that he can rotate in there with Eric. Elsie Refuge is playing good for us. Matt Dillinger, whose numbers last week were really good, and they were good this week, that's playing, you know, well for us too. And he's kind of like the quarterback of the front. And very experienced guy, very smart guy that you can put a lot on his plate to sit there and get us lined up so our D-line doesn't have to think and they can just go.
How about tackling-wise? You feel like you've improved? I mean, maybe even looking back to last year.
Yeah, I think we have, and we spend a lot of time on it. You know, knock on wood, you know, that we spend a ton of time. And Jordan can tell you from preseason, I mean, that's how we start every practice. We started every practice right after stretch with 10 minutes of tackling. And it's something that we continually, emphasize tackling and takeaways. So that's something that we do every day that, you hopefully you're seeing that it's confirming validity that you're doing a better job tackling.
How about, Jordan as a fourth-year player here, kind of talk about this defense maybe compared to the last one and all the things that, Coach has kind of touched on there.
Like you said, I think really up front and even with the linebackers bringing all that pressure, I think that really has an effect on the opposing offense and what they can do. I think it helps us a lot. I think we just kind of have the mindset that we're going to be like an attacking, like a relentless defense, and I really think we've kind of really brought in that attitude and really focused on that. And I just think this defense, with a lot of guys returning, have really kind of bought in and have really focused on doing the little things right and coming together and just executing.
Coach, this is going to be your offensive coordinator, Don Treadwell's first game against the team he used to be the head coach of. Has he brought that up with you at all? Second game. Whoops.
Mm-hmm. He was here last year.
First as a coordinator.
Yeah,
Okay.
first as a coordinator.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Okay. Never
I'm
mind.
sorry, go ahead.
It's fine. I forgot he was on staff last year. My mistake.
That's all right. But yeah, it's his first as the coordinator, and Treddy, if you got a chance to talk with Coach Treadwell, he's about as cool and calm as they come. My nickname's the Iceman. I think he's the Iceman. He's the real Iceman. But he is, nothing. I mean, it's not a big deal for him, but it is what it is. It is what it is, I guess.
Coach, you mentioned that Miami brings 3 different quarterbacks, but you said that they were same, but they were different. How so are they different?
One of them is more of a runner, and they don't have him listed on the depth, number 14, but he is a really good runner for them. I think all of them are able to run the football. The other 2 are bigger, 240, 250-pound, type guys that, I think look to throw the ball a little bit more. But they're all athletic. They all can throw the football I always say, from hash to sideline. They both got strong arms. But they're, like I said, it's interesting on how, I don't know what the plan is, because the last game, one of them started, the other one came in the 8th play of the game, and then the other one came in on the 12th play of the game. So I think they go into it with making sure that they're going to play all 3 of them at some point in time.
You see a certain key or keys to that game, the Miami game, as far as from your angle?
From the quarterback change?
Just in general, from your perspective, keys to the game.
Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I think defensively we're going to have to stop the big play. I think, again, with 2 of our starters not being in there, I know they're going to, attack us vertically, which is part of who they are, anyway. When they go into and they look at, our guys who are, 5'9", 5'10", and they're 6'6" and 6'3", we're gonna have to defend the vertical game very well. But we're also gonna have to be gap sound. They speed it up, also too. So the pace of the game is gonna have to be. We're gonna have to slow it down defensively, and we're gonna have to score points. You're going to have to score points to sit there and beat them because they are an offense that can score points.
Now, when they are eligible, Holly, that is, when they're eligible to come in the second half, will they play?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll play.
And Jordan, can you just talk about playing the homecoming game as a senior, what that means to you?
It means a lot. Been here for 4 years, so just kind of the experience of playing a homecoming game. It's always a big home game, always a big crowd, so having that atmosphere is always nice to play in.
Anything else? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, guys.